My name is Joseph H. Kesselman, age 90. This picture was taken in 1943. This is a picture of myself with 3 other students, or those that went to school with me. We were special. We stayed, the 100 men stayed together at all times. Everybody went to the front. I went to K Company, 3rd Battalion, 309th Regiment, 78th Infantry Division. The rest was everybody out in holes, and the difference between us and the enemy was maybe a mile apart. They were in their holes and we were in our holes. At the same time, as we were actually almost in Germany, there was a radio that spoke in German. The captain wheeled around and said, "Did you understand that?" I said, "Yes, I'm Jewish, and I speak Jewish fluently, and I can understand a lot of German, and in numbers and names, I can understand completely." He says, "All right, you stay here." And he put the other fellow on the front line. That night, they dressed me in white, my rifle in white, and the captain told me he'll give me 6 men to go with me. I should go over the line into no man's land, but you must come back with a prisoner. It's very important. They told me, well, now go get a little closer to the line and maybe you'll find a German. As I was creeping along, sure enough, a German started to get out of his hole, and I don't know where he's going, but he wasn't going any further, so I told him to stop. I had my gun on him, and I told him to take his helmet off, drop his gun, and march in front of me. And I brought him to the 6 men. We took him and his 6 men and myself, went back to see the captain. He was delirious. The captain thanked me very much. But from that time on, I had a position called a scout. And before we went into any battle, I had to go out alone, all alone. It sounds difficult. It was difficult. But you don't think about how difficult it is because you haven't seen all the bad parts of the war yet. I had one little incident where I had to go out on a patrol with a group and bring back everybody that they found dead out there before we went out into the attack. We went out into the attack and I went with the captain. When we came to the German barracks area that we were attacking, we had quite a few prisoners. And I was with the captain. We walked through them and the captain said, "Kesselman, undress them. We got to search them and see what they have, no weapons or anything." I somehow muddled through between one German said something, corrected one of the things I said. I used the word coat for a coat, Koit in Jewish. Well, it's a mantel in German, and you know that's also a coat. So it became good. And I kept this fellow near me and was able to undress all the Germans, have them searched, get their clothes on, and in a true military fashion, they went back into American captivity. I had gone out and captured a prisoner. It became routine because I knew where they were and they didn't know there was somebody creeping around inside of them. I took this prisoner back to the captain and we had to go in against a pillbox that was on top of a hill, and we had to go through open terrain maybe as much as 2 miles before we can get to the pillbox, which is suicidal. But I said to the captain, the prisoner said to me that the men would like to surrender that are up in that pillbox. Oh, the captain was thrilled. We'll go up and talk to them. I said, 1 minute, they didn't say they're surrendering. They would like to talk about it. He says, okay, go ahead. So I went up with my prisoner along the edges of the road, which was quite a distance away, and we crept and crawled all along until we were within hollering distance of the pillbox. We hollered at them that they should surrender and that they should come out, and we're not going to hurt them, we'll make them prisoners. And my prisoner called them by name. So they recognized his name, and they opened the door to the pillbox and started to come out, all of them. Captain in charge turned to run. I was pretty good with a rifle, so I shot him. And they all got nervous and ran back into the pillbox. And then they opened up with machine guns and rifles and mortars and everything they could lay their hands on to try to kill my prisoner and me. Finally, they stopped. Now I had to think up something to do. So I said to the prisoner, we'll wave a white flag, you call them by name, and you run into the pillbox. and tell them I'm not going to hurt them. I'm one man with a rifle, and I'm not going to hurt this mob of men. He said, all right, and we waved and waved and waved, and he called them by name, and he stood up, and they didn't shoot him, and he ran into the pillbox. I sat there for maybe a half hour, and then the door opened, and all the men came running out towards me. I didn't know what happened, but they all got around me, surrounded me, and they were all happy, clapping each other on the back, and I gave them a German command, Stillgestanden, which means stand at attention. I was only a PFC myself. But they immediately reacted. I said, take your helmets off, Hütte off, Gewehr runter. Throw your guns down and take your hats off, your headgear off. And while they were in tension and in a formation, I marched them down, and the captain was delirious because now we maybe saved 100 lives American. And that's all that interested him. That was the important part. And this he recorded and sent in, and I didn't know it, but he wrote me up for a Bronze Star. We hit a little town called Epanic. Now, I don't know if there's a battle called the Battle of Epanic or not, but it was a tough, tough battle. We came out of the Ardennes forest, and we came to an open clearing, miles open. It was all farm country outside of the forest. We then called for tanks. And they sent us 5 tanks, and the tanks went up. And before they got a quarter way up, they knocked out 3, and the other 2 came back. And I went out further to see if I could find a way to get around this trench that was trench warfare. They were all dug in. Got into a German foxhole. One fellow picked up his head. His name was Bernard Shea. And I had just split a bottle of booze or something with him the night before that he got in the mail, a little bottle, wrapped in a loaf of bread. He picked up his head and said, Kesselman, and that was the last word he ever said. He got a bullet right through the head from a sniper. We spoke to the colonel at regimental headquarters, and I was on the radio, and we explained what we did with the tanks and the marching and everything that was going on was making it impossible. And he says, you tell the captain, give me the town or give me the casualties. You got 10 minutes to move. I gave it to the captain. I says, you better speak to the colonel. He did, and he made a march and fire advance. And we ran down. We got there with about half of the men. I was running with the captain. He gave me back the radio when I was running, and they picked me out. And the bullets were not hitting my leg, hitting the ground, were alongside of me and following me. And my legs were bleeding from the stones that were being knocked up by the bullets. That's how close they were to me. But I don't know what I did. But we got there, and they bandaged me up a little. I don't think I had any bullets through my legs, maybe scars, and mostly the path of the gunfire from the machine guns. And everybody in the town surrendered. When I got up on top of the hill, I saw a German machine gun laying on the ground there. I picked it up because, gee, I know they had some pretty good weapons, and I fired it. It made a whole boom, 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 with a lot of noise with it. And when I stood up, I saw a whole group of men, 20 or 30 some odd men, standing there with their hands in the air. I was shocked. I didn't understand it. But then I began to remember the other one that I went through. Maybe this is the same thing. So I ordered them to come forward, which they all did, and I went through the same thing. Stillgestanden, and they all snapped to attention, the weapons down, and I marched them across this 2-mile open field. The fellas were cheering. They were hysterical with joy. They did not have to cross this open field with 40 or 30 odd men, whoever was up there, shooting at them. So the captain wrote this up for an oak leaf cluster. I was very happy and surprised. The new captain that came up sent me out on my first mission with him. I went down a road in the middle of the woods, and I went down quite a piece, down this open road, walking down in the middle of the woods. And then I heard a noise, and I looked ahead of me, and there was a big tank with German infantry surrounding, advancing towards me. I jumped into the woods and ran until I got my own group. And I reported back to the captain and tell him what was coming. One big tank with a lot of German infantry. Well, he deployed all our men, and of course we have bazooka teams, and we have rifle teams and light machine guns. And when they came near, we began firing, and they stopped, and they stopped, and they went away. And we did not have a battle. And I was very happy with that. We met in an area, and one fellow had a Bible with him, and we conducted ourselves. We had Jewish services. With that, one of the men came running up to me and grabbed me and hugged me and everything. It was my friend from where I lived. We lived on the same street. His name was Sam Kramer. Oh, I says, Sammy, you know, we're all over this. He says, geez, I heard about you in the battalion. He says, you want to go back? I says, I don't know, do whatever you want. So sure enough, he went back to battalion. He spoke to the major. He told me Kesselman, the fellow that gets the medals up there, he would come to battalion. Would you like to have him? He says, yeah, bring him up. I got a new ST man. That's an intelligence man. And he could use an experienced fighter up. So the next day or the next 2 days, whatever, I get a transfer up to battalion. And I'm now with Sammy Kramer, my friend. The next day after that, the new S2 man, intelligence man at battalion, said he wanted to reconnoiter the town ahead because we're going to attack that town, and he wanted to see what was doing. Can I drive? I said, sure, I can drive. So I got in the Jeep, and he gets 2 bodyguards, and the 4 of us get in the Jeep, and we go through the woods, and we're going up towards this little town. When I get to trying to get up into the town, it's muddy, and it's a little forest area, and I can't get the Jeep up. So he says, you better turn it around and go back, and I'll get another driver. So I turn the Jeep around and go back, and who's crossing the road? Sammy Kramer. He's the driver. So he gets in the Jeep, I get out of the Jeep, and he goes up the same dirt road in the forest that I just came from that leads to the town. And when they went up, they got to this hill, he put it in 4-wheel drive and got up top of the hill, and they got ambushed, and Sammy Kramer was killed. The driver was the first one killed. So I was very, very sad. And that was about the last big battle we had. And it was really sad. And I felt terrible because when I got home, his wife and his mother came to see me to find out what happened. I could not tell them the truth. It was impossible. It was a very, very sorry story. Why these things happen, I can't understand, I can't figure out. When we came out from this battle with the German barracks areas, they had to stop the Schumannable Dam from blowing up. It's on the Ruhr River, and if it was blown, it would flood the whole valley and disturb our whole, or interrupt anything that we were planning. We would have to reevaluate everything. And we were giving the 78th Infantry Division, was given the job of getting the dam before it blew. And we had to go through Schmidt, and we went from town to town, I can't tell you, but we had to go fast. And we went very, very fast as we could go. We were fighting like wild men, and we had to get to that dam. When we got to the dam, it was not blown. And we went over it, and we did not let them blow it. So we were then able to fight with the other soldiers that were down south, were trying to get to Remagen, which was south of us. And we started walking. It might have been 30 or 40 miles. And the next morning, we started our fast march, or maybe it was one day put together. And when we got near the Remagen Bridge, we saw they had anti-aircraft guns all along, anywhere near the bridge, because the Germans were trying to bomb the bridge with planes. And they had many, maybe 40 or 50 anti-aircraft positions alongside both sides of the north and south, not the east and west of the bridge. And as I say, we had been fighting the 2 days before that, marching for a day and a half, and these anti-aircraft fellows were having their breakfast or eating. I went over to the captain of one of the outfits, and I said, told him my story. You know, we've been walking around here for 2 days. We haven't eaten, and your men were all lined up. Can we eat? Took all the men off the line, took everybody back off his line, and lined up all our men, and he fed all the men that were near me or around us, maybe 100 men or more, and he fed us all. And the other guys just took their mess kits out and fed us. And doughboys, you're going, goodbye. And they had a lot of wine too, so they gave us wine because we were in wine country. Ray Morgan's right in the middle of wine country. So we had a lot of wine, now we had a lot of food, and now we were going over. We got to the bridge. I went over with 6 or 7 guys, and they all got wounded because they were still shooting more. The bridge was captured, and the troops that were in the tunnel at the other end of the bridge had already surrendered, but now they were shooting from far, and they were trying to hit the bridge. I got over, I was okay. And we had to clear the area back there so we could get infantry over and establish a bridgehead so we can go out. And on the middle of that Autobahn was a big Tiger tank. I went to school, I knew what a Tiger tank was. And I said to the guy, that's a Tiger tank, now what do you think we ought to do? And I crept and I crawled and I crawled and I crept and I crept up to the tank. There was nobody there. The tank had been abandoned, which told me that they're breaking down and the pressure was on them. And now we're going to really move. And that turned out to be true. And I remember diving into a shell hole, with everybody off the trucks, diving into a shell hole, and my first sergeant, Sergeant Verhoevic, who was a very good man, very tough, very good soldier, and a regular Army soldier, that he jumped himself on top of me and says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I don't know what happened after that. I have a blackout from then on for at least a period of a couple of days or a week in between. Was I wounded? I don't know how bad. I don't know what happened. But I know about a week later I reported back to the outfit. And everything seemed to be all right. And they wrote me up for Purple Heart. Well, that was the end of practically very hard fighting. We just kept going because the Germans knew that there was no reason to fight. They fought in Berlin hard, but they didn't bring us into Berlin to fight. We stayed back a ways. We stayed there till the war was over. Now I got home very fast because you got points. You went home by points. I had the medals, which I think was 5 points for each medal, and you had a child. I think got so much for a child. And I came home very early. I think I came home the end of November, the beginning of December. And that was the end of my war story. But take the man out of the Army, but you can't take the Army out of the man. I'm most grateful for the way the government has handled my type of case. We have people like me have what they call CID, Combat Incurred Disability. And for that, they give you pensions and income and care. And they have given me, in Nassau County has helped me considerably, New York State has helped me considerably, and the federal government has helped me considerably. I'm very proud of our country. God bless America.